Hey guys, welcome to the Middle of the Story podcast. It's your girl HG, meeting you here again on a Thursday afternoon. I hope everybody had an amazing Thanksgiving. We had such a blessed week just chilling. I think I went silent on social media, stories only, no posts, because I was just soaking in the moments of being together and enjoying family and so many carbs. I am so excited for you guys to join me here today. I am hitting round 3 in our mini series. Last week we did honesty and community, which paired with our first episode of what matters most. And so I was thinking about talking about what matters most and then talking about honesty and community. And I was like, well, if I ask you all to be honest and be in community, then what does it look like to actually be in community and like find community? I sat with some of our young professionals that go to our church and a couple weeks ago, and I was like, you actually don't have to be best friends with the people you were always best friends with. And they were like, oh my gosh, that's like so nice to hear. And I think we need to talk about it, like talk about making friends, being a friend. And so today we're just going to talk about goodbyes and God. And what does that look like? Where's God in the middle of it? I rewatched the last 2 episodes and I was like, wow, I didn't ask myself, where's God in the middle of that story? And that is literally the whole point of this podcast. So today I will be sure to hit the whole reason that we're here and where is God in the middle of that. But I'm going to give you a second. I want you to grab a cup of coffee, maybe like take a breath and let your guard down. Let's talk about friends. I titled this podcast episode Goodbyes and God because I thought I was really good at saying goodbye, since I exited my family of origin, my biological father. Told him I never wanted to see him again when I was like 8 years old. So I'm like pretty good at goodbyes. And then I realized at like 29, I was not good at goodbyes at all. So I actually tried to film this episode a few months ago, time. It's the holidays, so time is non-existent. But yeah, I tried to film this episode and transparently botched it. I mean, like total doo-doo. So I'm trying again to refilm it and come to this space honestly and authentically. I've said this before a couple episodes ago, but my sister told me a Bill Johnson quote, and he was like, I can be honest without being opaque. And just like learning the finesse of honesty and transparency in life and online is so interesting. But I got really anxious because I have experienced a lot of goodbyes over the last 3 years and just like started to get in my head of like, I went through like a pretty public friend breakup, like in our social sphere, like a best friend breakup, and like rocked my world, was super hard. And we like changed churches and did things that were really hard and involved like goodbyes or see you soon or shifts in relationships. My marriage fell apart and my whole world rerouted. So had a lot of anxiety filming this episode and being like, I just want to come to this table humbly and honestly and be myself, give you advice, say I'm walking with you or I was just recently there. So I'm not a professional goodbyer as much as I thought I was. And I'm still learning so much all the time. And I've actually been in therapy since I was like 25 years old, and I'm turning 32 in February. So I've been around the therapy block in multiple spheres, in couples therapy, in individual, in like 911 saving your marriage. I've been around the block. So even in that, I'm still learning so much. So when I say get into community, what I really mean is getting into godly community. I'm going to pull up my notes. I thought about like, what would I tell someone if, I was like, how to make friends and how to be a friend. And I first said community matters, which is what we talked about in the last episode. But then furthermore, godly community matters. And that plays a huge role in who you are becoming, who you want to be, and surrounding yourself by people who are like-minded to you is important. I've said many episodes that I have friends that believe totally differently than me, really close friends actually. And so I'm not saying like get only one type of person in your life and looks like you and thinks like you. No. But what I'm talking about, like growing as a believer, that does involve having people that believe the same as you, that believe that Jesus died on the cross and rose again for your sins, believes that you can have freedom through his stripes we are healed. Whatever that looks like, it means people that are going to encourage you to not sin, to call you out on your sin, to be honest with you and help you to be honest with yourself. So those are super important factors in creating that kind of community. And what I've learned is like when you get friends like that, there's kind of this like understanding of like, I love you and I want to be friends our whole life. And we will be friends our whole life. But that doesn't mean you have to be your best friend your whole life, every Friday night or every Saturday afternoon lunch. There's no confines or contracts or anything that involves those friendships. It just means like I'm committed to you and I love you and we're on this journey together towards heaven for the kingdom. And also that means like things may shift. Like my kids may do different things than your kids do. It may mean like my job takes me into a different kind of schedule than what yours allows and how we meet socially. And that is okay. I think a lot of hard lessons, like the common denominator, ended up being that I don't want to stay the same. And sometimes it's really easy to get in the flow and do the same things over and over again socially, in yourself, patterns, habits. That's why they're called patterns and habits. It's just easier. And what I'm learning and have learned is I don't really think I want easier. And I literally shudder saying that because I'm like, oh, I've gone through some hard things. And I can sort of wrap my mind around saying that. But what I want is to be constantly changing. What I want is to be moving towards heaven, towards closer to Jesus, to be more like him. So godly community matters. And then I think the third point would be like what we said last week, honest. I'm pulling up my notes again. That was actually not the third point. That was like the next point and the next thing. What I was going to say is be God's friend. He is your friend. He's my friend. And we're his friend. And all the vice versas. If you're you and him and you and all of us. You learn how to be a friend by spending time with the ultimate guy. That's Jesus. And he'll be so kind to you when it's time to move on from a situation, when seasons are changing and when you get hurt. Because you're going to get hurt. I'm going to get hurt. I have been hurt. You're going to hurt. I have also hurt people. It is just the flow of life. And, when you start to learn God's voice and talking with Him and communing with Him, when that friendship forms, you will be a better friend because you're learning from the best. And when you're lonely, He will always be there. He has never left you. He has never forsaken you. And I've had many lonely seasons where I've felt like, ooh, it's just me and you, Jesus. And some seasons have been solitude, safety. Some have been angry. Like, why don't I have friends? Why don't I have a social life? Everybody has somebody. So just that submission to God of like, all right, it's me and you. And let's go find my people. When I was 25 years old, it was COVID. And I remember, I think I was like talking on the phone with someone and then I hung up. I was sitting on my back step and felt like the Lord say to me, I'm going to teach you a lot about relationships the next 5 years. It was like 25 to 30. And I had just like gone through like a weird friend thing. And we'll pause. I think you should know this. Take a sip of coffee. I need one too. My video guy will edit out all the mouth noises. I apologize. But I've always wanted a best friend. Like Big Shock with abandonment wounds and, feeling like you're unloved and all the weird things that come with not having like a relationship with your biological parent and then there being trauma there. So I've always wanted like a best friend. So my whole life I have like gone through the ups and downs of like trying to make someone my best friend. And that puts a lot of responsibility on someone. And it puts so many expectations that are not fair. That was so unhealthy of me. That's not anybody else's fault. So some friendships that I got hurt in, I played a huge part in the hurt. Now, that doesn't excuse some behaviors or some actions, but I think we can all take a deep breath and say, like, it takes two to tango, right? Like, I can't sit here and look into the camera pretending like I'm looking into your eyes over a cup of coffee and say, so-and-so did this, and that is why we're not friends anymore. Like, yeah, maybe they did do that, but I also played a huge role because aside from abuse and like a narcissistic person that's unavailable and unreachable emotionally and conversationally, like we all play a part in the demise of our relationships. Aside from those things. But if my therapist wanted to like join in the chat and comment and be like, in these relationships, she could do that too. But in my mind right now, thinking, I'm like, there's not really a lot of relationships that end that you can walk away and say, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I think we can always walk away from relationships or have relationships end and be like, okay, I learned this about myself. Even in the crash and burn of my marriage, I eventually was able to be like, I did not play a part in his addiction, but I did play a part in some of our really unhealthy like dynamics and patterns. So just self-awareness is very beautiful. Anyways, now I've lost my train of thought. But, oh man, it'll come back. I was talking about goodbyes and God and, Jesus telling me, you're going to learn a lot about relationships, 25 to 30. I had just gone through a really weird thing with two friends. It was the whole thing. Not my best, probably not their best. That's okay. We've all said sorry. So that's also an awesome thing. If you've gone through a really hard thing with relationships, you can apologize. Or sometimes it'll take years, but maybe they'll come back around and apologize too. I realized that I had to forgive people regardless of their apology. I know that's like a big Instagram meme thing of like, forgiveness is about releasing you and giving you freedom. It doesn't excuse the behavior. That is actually true. And you will learn its truth when you enact it. So I had like forgiven them. They came back and apologized. I was able to apologize for things. So good. So I had just gone through a weird thing. God said that. I'm like, okay. I knew like the solids in my life. And I was like, okay, I'm good here, but like, where is it? You know, me trying to like fear forecast and plan for like what God was going to teach me. Like I knew, like how kind was it that God like gave me a warning? Cute. For me to then be like, okay, you gave me a warning. Let me figure it out. No, it was surprising. So many jump scares throughout that journey. But I got through it, and I'm learning. And I learned in a multitude of areas. I was a business owner at that point with employees, so I learned relationally how to be a leader, but then also how to have humility, and learned about in that avenue. Learned a lot of familial relationships. I was married. My family of origin, everybody lives for the most part, everybody lives here. So that's like constantly changing, and you're learning and you're growing. And then I had friends. So many lessons were learned. And that was awesome. So I'm like 20, I think I was 28. How old was I? Yeah, 28 when I found out about Adam's addiction. So I was like, oh my Lanta. Like the year 29, I don't know if anybody watched New Girl, but all I think is 29 from Schmidt. That's not an appropriate show, but I did share quite a few laughs over it. Not the point. But to the year of my 29th year on the earth, hardest year of my life. Hands down. I was like, wow, Lord, we went out of here, guns a-blazing. This is intense. So I learned a lot in my marriage, obviously. Relationally, that completely turned upside down. I left my business, and that ended up meaning that I like exited a best friendship, was just how it played out. And that was so hard. And then we grew with people and we grew away from people. It was just like the year of like, it felt just like back to back to back. And in Ecclesiastes 3, literally the title of it is there's a time for everything. And so when I like look at that scripture, and it goes through all these different this and that, a time for mourning, a time for rejoicing, a time for leaving, a time for staying. So many things. I don't think I have the award for goodbyes, but I do know that I had to learn how to trust God, that what was in front of me was better than what was behind me. And turns out like the year before, Christine Kane, she's a phenomenal speaker and book writer. I had listened to a sermon that she preached at a church locally here. And it was all about Lot's wife and how when she looked back to see what was lost and to reminisce, or, my 2-year-old says all the time, wait, like that, like, wait, what if I want that? She turns into a pillar of salt instead of going forward to what God has her. I remember listening to that sermon and being like, this is such a good sermon, but it does not apply to me. And then a year later, was like, oh, that's me. And I walked that sermon out for almost a year and a half, honestly, because I cannot tell you, well, I can, because I don't know if you've been through it, but I'm sure you've been through something like it. It's so hard for seasons to end, or friendships to end, or even for them to shift and not look back and think, it will, wait, I don't know. But I had to trust that what God had in front of me and what He said was better than what was behind me. And so when I'm looking at being a friend, or I'm looking at saying, hey, the season is coming to its end, it's running its course, or Or straight up, if there's just someone in your life that you're like, I love this person, I love them. I can be in community with them, but I can't be in a close, connective relationship with them. Let the Holy Spirit work in your life. Let the Lord in and say, okay, how do I navigate this? Where do I go from here? There is a time for staying and sowing. There is a time, but who gets the front door to my heart, and who do I let in? And that is honestly something I think I'll probably be learning for the foreseeable future. If any of you have, family of origin stuff where it's hard, that's a whole other episode. Like, it's hard to learn healthy relationships and boundaries. And my whole family knows this. Like, I am an intense lover. Like, if I love you, I stinking love you. Like, we're in it together. I'm a ride or die friend. And not everybody feels that same way about me. And so I've had to learn the finesse of like, oh, I can love people and be friends with people, but not be like intense, like, I think of you as family, you think of me as family, because that's not really fair to the other person. And then it's also not fair to me, because some people take that and want to consume and not give back. And so I just want to encourage you today. I want to encourage you that there's a time for everything. I don't even actually know if this podcast is like a whole circle that makes sense. Like, we started here and then we ended here. I just want you to know that goodbyes are stinking hard. I also want to give you the freedom to address your friend group and say, I don't know if I want everybody in this friend group to have the front door to my heart. And I also want to give you permission and freedom and ask the Lord, like, who do you have for me? Who needs to be in my, and maybe you don't even have a person's name. Maybe it's just like, God's like, I have someone that is honest, that loves me, that serves me. Let's go try to find that person. Let's get involved in church. Let's get involved in a young adults group, or whatever that looks like. A young moms group, or littles, whatever, all the things. So many groups. But I just want to give you permission to think about it. Maybe journal about it. Take some time with Jesus. He is the ultimate best friend. And I think what you'll learn about him is he's funny and he loves you and he ain't leaving you. He's going to walk it out the whole way with you. And take a deep breath, because you were made for such a time as this. And on the way out of that breath, know that every season will have a beginning and end. And that's okay. It is okay. And if you're someone like me that wants a best friend, maybe we'll have one for a season. Maybe we'll meet one, and whoever's in my community group right now, maybe I'll find my best friend and we'll be there forever. But you are loved regardless of your best friend status or your friend group status, whether it be large or small. You are so loved, and we're in it together. So I'm so excited for you guys to come back for next week's episode. I've loved having coffee with you. God is in the middle of your story.